Well, hello there, Speed Gaming 3. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you find yourself. We're just so happy that you're able to tune in for an awesome daily randomizer race with the ALTTPR. Standard hard mode is going to be what we're running with today. And I am 329th in line, and we are about to be underway. And with this standard opening, we're going to have to go through the regular uncle escape and everything. Got the rain starting out, and on stream runners, we have Professor Renderer and Zeke Highwind today. And like I said, with this standard opening, just going to be pushing for a pretty good time getting through escape. But something that's going to help with that is our first big pickup there. That's right, we're seeing the bow as item number 1. Pretty swanky find to pick up early on. And not only is that a good weapon to have in the beginning, but it is required for a lot of the progression later on, especially some of the dungeons. So our runners are happy to have that out of the way. And with this being hard mode, there will be no silvers. So that's the only bow we're going to be seeing today. As far as early execution, I'm seeing Professor Render with a nice couple of rooms lead here with execution and movement. And right now, Render continuing to show us some of that dominance early on. Already down just one staircase to go to get to Zelda's cell. Oh, and not only do we get to pick up Princess Zelda, but we grab our first lift upgrade. It's definitely going to give our runners some options when they finish this escape route. And I see chat asking a question about the color being strange. I think that it's just some palette swaps people are using. It is interesting to note that they ended up with the same palette swaps, though. I'm not sure how that happens or the logistics that go into that. But what I do know is Professor Renderer is just putting on a clinic of how to get through escape. No doubt being aided by that early bow pickup. That's a decent weapon to have to go through here. Sometimes you're resorting to bomb strats or pot throws to get rid of some of these guards. But with an early bow, we saw the bow on Uncle, that makes your movement pretty efficient through here. And while Render is going there to the back corridors of escape, we see Zeke pretty hot on the tail. Zeke in the throne room now. And of course, if you're not too familiar with our randomizers or standard openings, The runners here are granted a courtesy lamp for this back of escape exit. They will not have a lamp again in another dark room unless they find the lamp, but for this intro, they are given that free light cone. You could say it's a free trial of the lamp. Dark Cross just yielding some 20 bucks. Professor Render grabbing that small key to get out of here. And didn't see any bomb drops, so Render is going to go ahead straight out to the top of this. And I think that normally see runners sometimes hope to grab a bomb early on to get the back of escape, but with that early glove pickup, they can come back here at any time. Yeah, I see chat kind of pointing out that same idea. Zeke might have been farming a little bit for a bomb, but Professor Render with a sub 6-minute escape, that is a great time. And Zeke's going to be hot on the tail. Probably going to be clocking out just a little after, just under 6:20 maybe. Still a very respectable time, much better than I can do. But yeah, the big advantage of being able to leave the back of escape is we did get that first lift upgrade, so we can head down there whenever we need to. And we are out of escape. So let's see how our runners choose to take the progression they've gotten. See if we get any early divergence. Yes, that's right, chat. The real race starts now. You could consider escape maybe like the theme song sequence. Just kind of plays while we're getting ready. But some great execution in the beginning can set the tone for a good race. So escape's not something you want to sleep on. And Lost Woods doesn't have too much. Now, Professor is going to give us a restart there, probably because of the lack of bombs. CAC has plenty of available options to us, but without bombs, it's a little less optimal to go through there. But I'm seeing a little bit of divergence here because Zeke looks like going to commit to the CAC play. And Professor Render is just going to be looking for some bombs before heading over to CAC. Resetting these bushes, there's a good chance, and there it is. I was going to say there's a good chance to get some bombs down here. So Professor Render using some good knowledge of the game to go ahead and optimize for a bomb pickup. But we'll see Zeke may be able to grab some bombs. There's plenty of item checks here in CAC. And I didn't get quite a great peek at that. It looked like a red rupee sitting on race game. Yeah, they do have plenty of money, and we see that that's actually the route that Zeke is taking. Gonna go ahead and not afraid to spend a little dough to get this seed rolling. Does have a little bit of a bomb toss mishap there, but with the 10 purchase, it's no problem to just throw another one at it. And speaking of bombs, we see Bombos, one of 3 medallions that we may come across in this game. If you're unfamiliar with this, not only do they give you some magical damage that you can use, but those medallions are used as key locks for 2 of the dungeons. So as we get there, we'll see if Bombos is actually hard required. And a mirror pickup from the bottle vendor. Good use of money on Zeke's side, picking up the bombs and picking up that mirror. Definitely going to be happy to have that early on. And there were bombs in bottom of the well. There were plenty of bombs in bottom of the well. Yeah, and Professor Render ends up buying bombs anyway. So It's early on. We're just settling in, right? Anything can happen. But Professor Renderer grabbing his mirror, be able to get down here, and not going to be thrilled probably to see all these bomb drops. Ooh, but on Zeke's side, we are getting our first sword and more bombs. Well, every bomb-locked location here so far has had bombs available right out front of it. So all that bomb farming and buying was pretty useless at this point, but makes sense that the runners wanted to be prepared when they went down there. Definitely nothing wrong with it. Yes, and we had a bottle pickup down here as well, so we can check Sick Kid. CAC is really just making sure we can full clear the area. Unfortunately, it's not yielding too much benefit. We did grab our mirror, though, which is a big play. That's almost always required. But if nothing else, it provides a lot of quality of life improvement as you can hop around the areas a little more smoothly. And Professor getting a little bit of a payout back, kind of return of investment as turning in the gold B there. And we've got a save quit reset and a save quit reset on both sides. So both of our runners took different routes to get there, but covered the same ground. So here we see a good little break in divergence here. We've got to start at Link's house and to start at Sanctuary. So definitely a South Shore clearing play on Professor's side. And we are going to get that back of escape play on Zeke's end. And while it is certainly early on in the game, some of these early divergences can yield big results that really drive our runners kind of further and further apart. So we'll see how this goes as we progress a little bit. There's our first of only 2 shields we're going to see today for hard mode. But hiding down at the murky depths, the ice rod. Professor Render, I'm sure, mixed feelings about seeing that pickup. And nothing too exciting down in the bottom of escape. But Zeke's going to head up, continuing with showing us a little bit of a different area. It looks like we're going to get at least Sahasrah's closet, if not also a dip into Eastern early. Now with the bow, Eastern is a little more accessible. Without the lamp, it's not fully clearable in logic, but these runners can definitely do some of those dark rooms. So we'll see what Zeke decides to do with an early bow here. Oh, and a green pendant Skull Woods. I see blue cane. I see a bug net. Yeah, if you ever wanted to be drowning in cash, this is the seed to start out with. We're up to almost 1,000 rupees. Definitely have early Zora money, and with that glove, Zora's in logic. And I definitely like this Eastern play on Zeke's side. Armed with the bow, a little more accessible. You kind of have the option to full clear, especially at their skill level. Ooh, an Ice Rod Cave with a beautiful palette shuffle, though. I really like the blue we're getting in Ice Rod Cave today. Really fits the theme. And the palette shuffle also makes the grassy ground look a little bit like it's covered in snow, maybe. Very appropriate for this time of year, as pretty much everybody I know is getting hit with winter storms. But we are going to get a fake flipper on Professor Renderer's side, so these checks will be out of logic because we don't have the flippers yet. And no Moon Pearl, so we won't be able to check Waterfall Cave out of logic right now. And one of the nice benefits to being able to watch this, both runners making different decisions, is we're getting a lot of information early on. So no doubt we'll see a lot of our runners just covering the same tracks that we've already seen. And there's our big key in a great location, because you can just go head over here and open the big chest. And I think the Eastern play was a great play, but it's not yielding much so far. Really, the only big significance we've seen is that South Shore play gives us the Ice Rod. We're not sure if that's going to be required yet. It only has one hard requirement, which is to take down the triple threat nightmare of Trinex. And as we see over there on Zeke's side, navigating that dark room, gets the small key. Very nicely done. Yes, this Zora play is totally in logic. All you need to get here is that first lift upgrade. Professor took a shortcut to get there, but it's still in logic. So gonna cut his money in half. Is it worth it? What do you think, chat? Is this gonna be worth it? I don't know about anybody out there, but I'm gonna have to say that was definitely worth the money. I will pay quite a lot of money for an instrument that lets me travel all across this world. So good play on Renderer's side, reading the logic, taking the glove, taking that big cash payout all the way up to King Zora, who is King Zora, the instrumentalist today. And with this fairy grab on Zeke's side, I think we're going to see a full clear of Eastern. Technically out of logic, like we said, without the lamp. Yes, I agree with that sentiment, chat. That is why we keep paying out Zora, because every once in a while, he's sitting on something big. Too often, it's 20 bucks or a huge ripoff, but not today. And Zeke having no issues at all getting through those dark rooms in Eastern, and is going to give us a full clear. I don't believe we have information on... oh, we did get a map check, so this is a crystal. I must have missed that. So Zeke going to take an early crystal lead here. And Professor Renderer doing what any of us would have done with that pickup, going right over to activate the flute. That is going to give some very efficient movement throughout the map here on Professor's side. And all things considered, depending on what else Zeke finds, it could be a little bit longer till he makes his way up there. And with his debut flute ride, going right over with the same mindset that Zeke had, Professor takes the flute right over to take a look at Sahasrah's closet. Gonna get a couple of items in the back, also get some green pendant knowledge. And probably gonna go ahead and full clear Eastern as well, knowing that it's a crystal. And then we're seeing once again, Skull Woods is gonna have our green pendant today. Yeah, normally the palette shuffle can look a little wacky sometimes, but I don't know, I feel like this one's just very vibrant. On Zeke's side, we had some Very lush green grass looking. I'm digging it. I'm digging the colors. And Zeke going to the bottom of the depths to pick up again, one of those you like to see it because sometimes there's a hunt, but you don't want to see it because that may mean you're going all the way back through Turtle Rock. But yes, Zeke picking up the ice rod. Ooh, but a little bit of divergence here. Zeke is going to head over to check Desert Ledge and hopefully Agina's Cave while he's here. Just $20 on the Desert Ledge. And on Render's side, we do see that Eastern Palace play. Again, makes total sense. It's a crystal. You have the bow. You're missing the lamp, but not really a hindrance. Most of these runners have worked diligently to make sure that lampless Eastern is well within execution. Oh, and Aghanim just paying us out right now with $20, which not super helpful, all things considered. We have well over the amount of money we need to grab that flute off King Zora. But with that Aghanim check, I'm sorry, Agina check, my apologies. With that Agina check, that may be something that weighs on Renderer's mind. But with the flute, it'll be easy to come back and get if he finds himself searching. So not sure there was too much of a benefit there. Yes, chat, we have the money to pay off everything pretty much that we're going to need in this seed. It is hard mode, though, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some blue goo pickups later. So more money is definitely not a bad thing. And Professor grabbing the big key on his side. Again, a great big key placement, because you can head right over to the big chest, make use of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't yield too much for us today. And while we're seeing a lot of the same steps covered here on both sides, I have been reminded to inform some of you when we get back into the light on Professor Renderer's side. He is running a custom sprite he made himself called Professor Renderer Grizzleton. So the Grizzleton sprite making its debut today on Professor Renderer's side. Yes, chat, we did find that pickup of the blue cane in Mini Moldorm Cave. And as expected, with the knowledge of a crystal, with the bow in hand, Renderer is also going to make a full clear of Eastern. Definitely a good call. We're having a little bit of Igor trouble here, but does a great job to take that down. I will say, chat, these runners make dark rooms look easy. While they're on a level of executing these dark rooms with precision and great optimization and efficiency, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to be able to navigate even the smallest of dark rooms. So they are putting on a great show for us today. And you love being able to come in here with a sword too, because you can make quick work of those little worm things. On Renderer's side, just one spin takes them all out in the right position. Again, every second counts. So even early on, good optimized movement, good clearing of rooms. It's all going to add up over time. And we see Zeke In the neighborhood of the right call here. Taking advantage of that fake flipper and heading up again with the money that they have in pocket. It might even be weighing them down a little bit. Zeke needs to lighten up his rupee count here, and he will be greatly rewarded for that choice, as we know the flute is sitting up here on King Zora. Yeah, I see chat having a little bit of conversation for hard mode. So there is only 2 shields in the pool. So the most we can get up to is fire shield. And there's only 3 swords. So we'll see, hopefully we'll see fighter, master, and tempered. No butter sword today, no mirror shield today, no mail upgrades at all, and no silvers. Zeke happy to pay for something that is so necessary for this seed. And since we haven't seen Lamp yet, it's looking like that's our logical access up the mountain. Oh, with a little bit of a mic drop there, Professor Renderer pulls the Titan's Mitts. That is some very early Titan's Mitts. We are only 25 minutes in, and we are already full lift upgrades. Old man, very happy to be brought out of that cave, giving us some Titan's Mitts. Now, those are still locked behind the lamp. But I saw chat say earlier, logic. What logic? Professor Renderer not worried about needing that lamp. Very happy to have those Titan's Mitts. And I would imagine we'll see Zeke hot on the trail there to be headed up the mountain. It's the big dense play. And as we see up the mountain, it continues to pay out in spades. We've got a moon pearl sitting up here as well, inside the Speck Rock Cave. And I have no idea what the bunny form of the Grizzleton sprite is. It looks like a robot. And Render is going to give us our first look into Tower of Hera, also a crystal. We have all crystal light world dungeons. And big key in the down here, not having to go to the basement to get it. Taking advantage of that mirror for some efficient movement. Yeah, if you're kind of tracing the logic, and Zeke, very happy to see Titan's Mitts on that side as well. Just a few screen transitions off of Professor Render, all things considered. Just has to make a little bit of a climb, warp between worlds, and then head over to Hera, if that's where he's headed to. But as I was saying just a second ago, if you're thinking logically as a runner for this, you know already that your Titan's Mitts are locked behind Lamp. And you know that Lamp is a good chance it's up here on the mountain, because you got Flute, which kind of was an open invitation to come up here. So definitely agree with clearing as much of you have access to up here in Hera. And again, Death Mountain is just excited to help open this seat up as we see the hammer pull in the chest here on Professor Renderer's side in Hera. Yeah, Lamp does not have to be up here, but there's, if you're kind of following maybe the breadcrumbs of what was available, there's probably a good chance that Lamp will be up here, maybe, especially with Hammer, that opens up East Death Mountain. But Lamp, I'm trying to think, Lamp may be somewhere else that we haven't checked yet, but I think we're kind of running out of options. And toe-to-toe with Moldorm himself, we see Render going with Hammer strats. Very nicely done. And at just a hair under 30 minutes, we've got our second crystal on Professor Renderer's side. Making good use of that hammer pickup, since he's still on Fighter Sword, to make quick work of Moldorm here. And I actually wasn't counting, chat. I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's an item in the basement or not. But what I do know is Zeke's got that hammer grab on his side. And Professor Render hightailing it over to grab that Moon Pearl. Very important pickup. That is hard required. Gonna need that. Yes, and with the Moon Pearl, we now have our full Dark World access. Again, if you're reading the logic, we haven't seen Lamp yet, so that hammer is actually our logical Dark World access. But with the Titan's Mitts sequence break grab, there are a couple of Titan's Mitts portals that do not require the hammer. So we kind of have both in logic and out of logic Dark World access here. And I see chat looks like, yeah, we found map and compass. So there's something in the basement. And Zeke with a very nice kill, again, utilizing those hammer strats. And just around 31 minutes, Zeke is going to pick up his second crystal. So only about a minute and a half separation here between our runners. Yeah, Moldorm is not easy to take down with a hammer. The hitbox of the hammer is maybe wonky at best. But Zeke's showing off some skill there. And like we said a couple of minutes ago, it's the little things, the little optimizations that make up time for you and add up over the course of, an hour and a half, 2-hour long race. So having a great Moldorm fight like that can just catch you right back up. And we saw that their crystal grabs were only about a minute and a half apart. Taking the slow walk through Spiral Cave since we're bootsless. Oh, and we are seeing our last shield that we're going to see for today. So the fire shield pickup on Professor Render's side was our Spiral Cave reward. Yeah, chat, I'm a little nervous too for that coffee break basement chest skip. But both runners did make the same choice. So at least what I hate to see is when a skip like that really costs one runner and kind of makes it a mess of a game. Oh, no fire source. Correct. So much to keep track of. Yeah, they didn't have a way to access that chest. Yeah, for some reason I thought the ice rod grab was a fire rod grab. And more East Death Mountain checks. What do we have over here? Are we going to see our lamp? Are we going to see our fire source? Got a red boomerang. Got to take another little piece of my heart there. Some bombs. Another piece of my heart. And just money. Not too much to speak of here on East Death Mountain. And Professor Render with some quite excellent, I have to say, quite excellent routing and mirror use. Having access to Titan's Mitts, opening that lower Death Mountain portal, leaving the mirror spot there to grab some light East Death Mountain and then come back to Dark Death Mountain so efficiently. You just love to see it. Just good execution, good planning. Well, between Dark Death Mountain and Death Mountain, that's a full heart in heart pieces. I'm a little surprised that Render didn't just slip over really quickly to see what the Turtle Rock medallion was going to be. But it does take that save quit back to the cave. Yep, going to get a heart refill. And let's see where we're fluting off to. Yep, and a flute to 3. This is a very good call. Plenty of items dense here in Village of Outcasts. We have Hammer, so Thieves Town is, that Thieves Town big chest is clearable. Definitely like this play on Renderer's side. And I think we might have gotten a map check. Yep. So we're seeing Palace of Darkness and Turtle Rock are other pendants. Ooh, and an Ether Medallion. We're 2/3 of the way to completing our coin collection here. And Zeke is going to give us that medallion check. Oh, so it's Quake. The one medallion we don't have yet. Quake Turtle Rock entrance. That's a little scary because we know it's Pendant Turtle Rock with that map check. We don't know if we need to go in there. We do have Ice Rod, but that would be pretty awful to have to go all the way to the back of Pendant TR. And if we do have to go in there, like I said, we have no key for the front door yet. So that's hopefully something we can skip totally entirely. Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment. You can't get in and you don't want to get in. So if we never see Quake and never have to go in, our runners will be very happy about that. And I think we may be seeing a Spike Cave check. We do have the blue cane. Interesting to see what we have here in Spike Cave. We didn't see Render make the play while up here, so this could be a big pull. Or it could eat a little bit of time. And for 50 bucks in a seed that was already kind of running rampant with money. Oh, and another 50 bucks in Thieves Town. Yeah, not the payout that Zeke was hoping for. Chat is dreaming up some of the worst case scenarios here. I'm seeing some things about possibly PED, possibly I don't even want to think about that. I prefer to be a little kinder to the runners. But some Dark World divergence here early on. We're seeing Zeke with a Hype Cave check. So sticking to more of the overworld before heading to Village of Outcasts. Just 10 arrows while we wait for that bomb to blow up. A little more money. Red cane. Red cane is hard required. That is a good find. It's not the hypest of caves, but red cave being required. So definitely happy to pick that up. Seven out of 10. Very generous rating. I feel like everything else was pretty much garbage. So, ooh, but there's where the hookshot's been hiding out. It's in the attic of Thieves Town. Oh, and I totally missed what was on Stumpy. Yeah, the hookshot is a big pickup. The only kind of evening out factor, though, is that both of those locations are not going to be skipped. There's no way, I can't imagine a world where Renderer doesn't head over to Hype Cave at some point and get the red cane, and there's no way where I see a world where Zeke doesn't go all the way up to the attic, since you have to open that floor to let the light in for the final boss anyway. But with a kind of collective knowledge here between our two runners, with Red Cane and Hookshot, pretty sure we have a way into Mire. The only thing we're unsure about is going to be that medallion entrance. If it's Quake, we're still going to be looking for that. But 2 out of 3 chance that we can get all the way into mire and dig pretty deep. But still need a fire source to full clear mire. And blind sharing some true wisdom that broken pencils are indeed pointless. I guess unless they break in half, right? Because then one half would have a point. Making good use of that Cane of Burna, as the screen was getting a little full of different damage creation there, but Professor Renderer doing a great job taking down blind. Surviving there with 1 heart left, and at 40, just about 41 minutes, picking up the 3rd crystal of the match. And let's see what the Smiths are making today. Just some more love. Certainly not what Zeke was hoping to find today. But it does give us access to that purple chest, so we're going to take a look around. Professor Renderer learning that the dig game is not really worth it today. Although, with hard mode, having extra bottles, like we said, you can add some fairies, you get some blue goo, so it's not a bad trade-off. Yeah, we're getting awful close to the heart cap. And interestingly enough, Zeke decided to go purple chest. Makes sense with the kind of way that he was routing the play to go ahead and do the Smith chain altogether. But gonna have to come back to Thieves Town, and hopefully soon. Got a hook shot up top. And our specialist is just a bomb maker. Not helpful today at all. Thanks a lot. I feel like at this point, the only bigger time waste would have been if it was just rupees, right? We've had more than enough of those. But yeah, we've got Zeke right back over with the flute. Again, it's an easy transition to get back to that Village of Outcasts. And yeah, Zeke doing kind of the same thing we saw Renderer do, but in a different location, making great use of mirror portaling. Left the mirror portal there in the middle of Kakariko so that he could easily get back to that instead of having to go through the whole, glove and portal routine. And while Zeke goes ahead to dig through some of Thieves Town here, we see Render kind of going back over the overworld steps that we saw Zeke doing a little bit ago. Going to be getting Purple Chest and Stumpy. There's not a lot here. There's actually not really anything in the front of Thieves Town. Oh, and it was another bottle. Okay, I missed that. Not a lot here in the front of Thieves Town, but up in the attic, pretty swanky hookshot pickup. So Zeke's going to be happy to be heading out of here with a hookshot and another crystal. Yeah, all told, I think the routing is a little cleaner on Render's side. Being able to do all of Village of Outcasts in one kind of chunk, and then route Purple Chest in, and now you're back. Probably going to go right over to Hype Cave. So I think just a little slightly more efficient, maybe by, I'd say, a minute, 2 minutes maybe. It's pushing it for 3, but yes, and Professor Render is a Professor, maybe it should be called Wizard Renderer, as he's able to manipulate the purple chest location. We didn't see it, but he knew it was there the whole time, right? Yeah, with the Titan's Mitts, with the flute, with the mirror, we do have access to desert. We can kind of be illiterate as we run through this one. We don't need a book to get in. And just as I expected, we're seeing the Hype Cave play, which is going to yield some red cane of Samaria, very important. Yeah, Pendant Pod is on the table with hammer and bow. Still no lamp for logical dark rooms. Gotta wonder at this point where that lamp is hiding. It could be in a couple of different places, though, especially Dark World areas, because even though the Titans Mitts were lamp locked, we got Dark World access without a lamp. We had Flute bring us up to Death Mountain, and then up on top in Tower of Hera, we were able to grab the hammer, and inside Spectacle Rock Cave, we got our Moon Pearl. So no fire source required for the Dark World. Gonna get a pyramid check. Just another heart piece. But in hard mode, Professor Renderer says, I absolutely would love to pick this up. Even I'm mad about that joke. But Zeke, with hookshot in hand, gonna go head over and take down Blind. And Professor Renderer committing to the pod play, it looks like. Yep. Catfish is outstanding. Not sure when we'll see. It's a little tough to route in sometimes. Maybe on the way out of pod, you could go north instead, since we've already done eastern. No need to stick in this area at all. Yeah, Catfish could be one of those. They have the Moon Pearl now, so they could do the Waterfall Ferry, but that's still out of logic because they're going to need flippers. Yeah, keep in mind as we're seeing our first pod dip, it is a pendant, but there's a lot of items available before they technically be fire locked. So, or lamp locked. So it's just as good a chance with the density here that lamp just pops up. And as Professor grabs the boots down there in that first check of pod, already paying off, we have got Blind making an appearance on Zeke's side. Second time around. Let's see how Zeke's blind fight goes. Remember, Blind takes a uniform 9 hits with any weapon that does damage. Doesn't matter what weapon it is. All hits count the same. That includes the Cane of Burna, which also gives you a little bit of protection. So I really like that play, as Zeke also wraps up with a relatively clean blind fight on his side, surviving with half a heart less, but surviving nonetheless. And at 48 minutes, Zeke's going to pick up his third crystal of the match. Yeah, Boots is a great find to be coming ahead of our Desert dip, because we don't know if Desert is Boots locked. We could have a small key on the pedestal that's required to get to the big key. We could also have the big key on the pedestal. And say hello to Mario's portrait there in C-shaped house, as we just get a little more love for Zeke's side. Yep, Boots could also be needed for the GT big key. So upon completion of Thieves Town, we saw Renderer make a dip down to Hype Cave and go over to Pod. And with the routing that Zeke did, it makes a little more sense to stick in this area. And he's going to actually show us our first look at Skull Woods. So we're getting 2 pendant checks here. We have a green pendant Skull Woods and a pendant Pod. We'll see what the payouts are in both ends. Yeah, this is definitely the biggest divergence we've seen. And Zeke loves coming in here with a Cane of Samaria. You can skip that whole annoying statue puzzle and just drop a block and move on. I'm trying to keep an eye on both runners about the same amount, so I haven't seen anything else of note in pod. If you've seen something else, please let me know. The main thing I've seen so far is that boots pickup. Calming is always so much fun, but without that co-calm, you're down a whole set of eyes. It can be tricky to keep track of both. And we knew it had to turn up soon. There's the lamp, and a perfect time, as we can use the lamp to guide us down here through the dark U. Yep, so lamp's going to bring those Titans, Mitts, and Logic. It's also going to bring the Clear of Eastern into Logic, although we didn't find anything of note there. And it's also going to give us a logical clear of the rest of this dungeon. And for some things we haven't seen, Lamp gives us the, I hate to say it, but the possibility of something being down there in Coffee Break Chest in Tower of Hera. And Lamp is also going to give us a full clear access of Desert. And get some hype in chat for that wonderful hammer jump there on Professor Render's side. Oh, you didn't want to see it. You didn't want to see it, chat, but there's Quake making an appearance, letting us know that Turtle Rock's totally going to be in play, right? Yeah, we don't know the Meyer medallion, that's true. So Meyer could be Quake as well, but with Cane of Samaria, with Ice Rod, with Quake, it's kind of the pendant Turtle Rock starter set, right? Just missing a Fire Rod to have to go through there. Yeah, plenty of options here. And chat pointing out that they did want to see it. I'm the one that didn't want to see the Quake. So here's the moment of truth. Was Meyer Quake? Meyer was Quake. So it didn't matter. We had to see it turn up. All right, well, that makes me feel a little better. Meyer Shed could have been left alone today. Just a couple of useless blue items. But I do like this break here. In Zeke's play, we're seeing a Graveyard Ledge check. This is sometimes put off to the very last minute. And Zeke with a swanky Master Sword pickup. Zeke has just increased the damage output and also got to the point where, you know, a Master Sword Ganon could be on the table. You can't beat Ganon without the Master Sword. So depending on where that third sword is, we may need to make our way over there. Looks like Zeke is setting up a little bit of a fake flipper with a bomb strat here. And I didn't see what was on the pedestal. It might have been a key there, but nonetheless, the big key is small key locked. So, Render, happy to grab that. And no mushroom to turn in yet for the witch here, but happy to take the health refill when you can get it, right? And I would imagine this is, yep, going to be a catfish play. So Zeke taking a little extra time to break from the little more straightforward routing we've seen on Render's side, but it did yield him a very big Master Sword pickup. And like we said, depending on the location of that third sword, it could be a while before we see Render upgrade. And very kind of the Bombos not to shoot at Render there. No, there we go. I'm gonna say it kind of passed right by him. And Catfish was the real fish scammer today. He'll trade you one of your finest skull stones for 20 rupees. Pretty useless in the seed at this point. But with the lamp, we are going to be able to go head back through here and clear out yet another crystal. Taking on Lammo. What do you think we'll see? Ice Rod strats or bow strats? And with that quick swap, Render showing us that he's in the mood for some bow strats. Yep, Lamp was in pod, as well as the Quake Medallion and Boots. Yes, as chat pointing out, Render was in the mood for some bow strats, but Lammo was having nothing of it. What a nasty Lammo fight over here, giving him some trouble. Render's had some great execution throughout this run, but this little moment right here is, I'm sure, frustrating him a good bit. And I think we mentioned a couple of times through this run, it's the little things, little optimizations that add up over time. Keep in mind, Zeke's going to be able to go through here with a Master Sword, which, if Bo is giving Zeke some trouble, those Master Sword spins are going to do considerably more damage to Lammo than Fighter Sword. But Professor Render digging his heels in, getting down and dirty, having a great fight there to wrap it up. And what started out as a little bit of a rough fight turns into a fourth crystal pickup at just under 57 minutes on Professor Render's side. Yeah, and this being hard mode, obviously a Silver's upgrade would have been the best, the most optimal way to take down Lammo, but we're not going to see Silvers in this match. So Master Sword is definitely a good improvement to be able to have that fight with. And after that crystal grab, we'll see where Professor Render heads next. But in the meantime, Zeke, having gotten some of those more obscure overworld checks out of the way, checked some Skull Woods, checked Graveyard Ledge, was rewarded with a sword, saw Catfish. Now we're seeing that pod play on Zeke's side. And thank you, chat, for helping with some assistance there. Yes, you can get access to the Dark World with either a Hammer and First Mitts upgrade or the Titan's Mitts upgrade. There are portals that require kind of one or the other. And obviously you need the Moon Pearl to be able to do anything in the Dark World. That's a given. But the Hammer, Moon Pearl, and First Power Glove upgrade were not lamp locked. So once we found that hammer, we knew that the lamp could be pretty much anywhere in the Dark World too that we had access to. And with Quake, Professor Render is going to give us a look in Misery Mire. And armed with boots and hookshot, we had our pick of how we wanted to cross that gap. We see Professor Render going with the bonk. And nice movement. Clearing out these whiz robes. Never a fun room here. Ooh, Bombos with the snipe. Yeah, we have not seen anything about the flippers. And that's going to be required. So really just looking for where are those flippers hiding. Yeah, Zeke having a little bit of trouble there with the bomb jump here. I like the commitment, though. Still going for it. Using the pause buffer to get a good setup. And nicely done. Not too much of an initial reward, just a little bit of cash. But we do know hiding down here in the dark maze, which... Ooh, the order that Zeke did this in, a little rougher. Just a few rooms ahead of him was going to be his lamp pickup, which would have given him a clear view of this. But Zeke certainly happy to grab the Quake medallion. He doesn't know it yet, but there's a hard require on that coin. So, going to be happy to complete his coin collection here. And both of our runners are kind of giving me a little bit of a heart attack. They're running dangerously low on health here. And I didn't see if Zeke was able to grab, but he does have a fairy. Okay. Let's say I didn't see if Zeke was able to grab the second item in the dark maze. He disappears to nothing but the mage's hat, but is readily revived by that fairy. And Render is going to give us a look at the cutscene chest here. Oh, I'm not sure if Render has a fairy. Yes, okay. Yeah, with hard mode, with being stuck on green mail, being limited to, you know, the amount of hearts you can get. Yep, maybe a little salty on Zeke's side as he just had to use up a fairy navigating a dark room that he now has a lamp for. But yeah, with green mail, with stuck on green mail, it's tough. You're taking hard hits, especially as we get deeper into these dark world dungeons. You know, at this point in Mire, the game would think that you have blue mail and a stacked heart count, so. But nonetheless, our runners proving that they are more than capable of navigating the difficulties of this game with ease. I've seen some excellent routing and performing on both sides. And we're going to get a King's Tomb check. Just some arrows. Zeke has really prioritized the more obscure locations. I think that that's kind of the biggest thing we can talk about in playstyle difference. We're seeing Zeke go for a lot of these one-off or just a couple of checks here and there. Some of the stuff that I'm not sure we'll see Render ever get to, depending on how difficult a hunt for flippers becomes. And I don't think we've seen Bonk Rock. See, why did I even say it? There's the flippers hiding down in the big key, in the big chest of Misery Mire. Render will no doubtably finish this dungeon and be swimming on out of here, so to say. And as Render is kind of on the bottom, the kind of final third here of Mire, we're seeing Zeke just beginning the adventure near Misery Mire. Fire Rod is the big outstanding question mark. We kind of have everything else that we need. Render can't use Bombos without the Master Sword. Or is it just a regular sword? I could be wrong. If chat wants to help clear that one up with me. It's the tablets you can't check without the Master Sword. Medallion can be used with any sword. That's correct. Thank you. See, I knew. I just had to say it out loud for a second. Yeah, so never mind. So we can go down to Ice Palace with the sword, but we cannot complete the game without the Master Sword. So Professor Render is going to have to make a very nice pull and find our third outstanding sword somewhere. or at some point going to have to make his way up to the graveyard ledge, which is a kind of obscure location. I don't want to put any jinx on it here, but like a commentator curse or something, it's very out of the way. And yeah, with the Cane of Burning here, we get a little bit of lag. A lot of sprites for the game to handle here. And again, this is another space. This Vitreous battle is another space where you'll see Master Sword versus Fighter Sword, timing kind of balance out. Zeke took a, kind of big step back. He was pretty close with about a minute and a half or so of render as they were finishing Thieves Town. But with some of those big divergences, Render has put a healthy lead as far as crystal gathering goes. But what we did see pay out big was that graveyard ledge check. Gave Zeke a Master Sword. And why not use some of these bombs, right? The seed's been giving them to us constantly. Yeah, and again, we saw Renderer with kind of a rough Lammo fight. So this would be a big place for Zeke to make up time, and that Master Sword's certainly going to help. And it's not every day we see a Vitreous fight with such a small, no silvers, just the Fighter Sword. So this is just kind of almost like walking through mud here. We'll get there. Render's doing a great job of staying healthy and not taking damage, but this fight can drag on a little bit. And as Zeke is going into that Lammo fight, I hope that his next play is into Mire. He did just get the knowledge that the Mire medallion is Quake. It doesn't matter. They have all 3 medallions, but taking a death there on Professor's side. Do we have a fairy? Do we have a fairy? Oh. Professor Renderer getting bullied by the eyes. Takes a very unfortunate death. That is a tough fight in hard mode. Again, like we said, with the loadout, there's not a lot that you can do to deal heavy amounts of damage. It's kind of a, like I like the imagery, just kind of dragging your feet through the mud. Renderer going to be going on a little bit of a shopping spree here. He certainly has the money to do so. Stocking up on blue goo. Considerably cleaner fight on Zeke's side for Lammo. Still, a little bit of trouble there, but you're going to have trouble when your loadout is, as limited as it is right now. So Zeke making up some time on that Lammo fight. And Zeke at an hour and 8 minutes grabbing his 4th crystal. And Render, even though he's stocking up on the goo, gonna optimize some of these now in logic flipper checks. Yes, chat, that was a much faster Lammo fight. It's definitely tough. And Zeke made it look easy with just a Master Sword there. And I wasn't sure, I thought we might see the Ice Palace dip here because with that access to flippers. Interesting to choose this over Swamp. Well, I don't know about you, chat, but I am certainly enjoying a great randomizer today. This is an awesome display of good execution, good routing, and just some pretty intense gameplay from both of our runners. And it'll be interesting to see if Zeke is able to fully complete this dungeon and take on Vitreous. It'll be interesting to see what that yields as far as maybe an item on Vitreous. Could be our Fire Rod. But Professor Render is showing us some new stuff here. We have not been into Ice Palace yet. Flippers are hiding out there in the big chest of Mire. So we just got access to this area. Some hookshot strats here. Professor Render not going for Icebreaker. Oh, wait, we had to flip the switch. There we go. I thought I saw him already go up there. I apologize. Is he going to get the big key? And going to head down to cutscene chest. Ooh, and there's our big key for Ice Palace, hiding down an Icebreaker. Yeah, and with Icebreaker, that does make Ice Palace a much easier, much quicker routing. You can just kind of, what used to be a little bit of a longer nightmare for a dungeon, Icebreaker has alleviated a lot of that. Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed the color swaps we've seen in this one. Especially the icier rooms. They just look so... I don't know, it just looks so bright. And making use of that Bombos to clear out both of these monsters here. Just for some bombs, though. Bombs for Bombos. Or, no, Bombos for bombs. It's a tongue twister. And getting a little low on health again. Professor Renderer does have quite a few bottles of blue, so I hope to see him drink some of that soon. Slipping and sliding around here. And what's in Ice Tea Room? Just a map. Zeke well on the way to picking up a very important find. He's going to grab the flippers in the big chest in Mire. It'll be interesting to see the routing decisions that are made here. Does Zeke go to Ice next? Does Zeke go to Swamp? Yes, and I see the links thrown up there in chat. If you're enjoying the great randomizer action you're seeing here tonight, please be sure to check out the ALTTPR daily schedule. There are great races going on every day, and you do not want to miss any of it because the runners always put on a great show. So, moment of truth here. We're seeing Zeke make the way downstairs. What is on Vitreous? Remember, Professor Render has been down here, went through all the way to Vidi, and just got bullied a little too much by the eyeballs. Couldn't finish the fight, had to take a death there. So we'll see if there's any reward that makes a big impact on Vitreous today. And a nice Bombos use of the ice shell breaking. We don't have a fire rod, so that's going to be the only way to bring Cold Stare out of his shell. And this is another place where, again, I hate to overstate it, but this is another place where Master Sword is going to make a difference. When Zeke comes down here, he'll at least have the Master Sword. If not, you know, maybe find a Fire Rod or something else. But Fighter Sword Cold Stare is not a fun fight. And with Professor Render in the middle of this Cold Stare down, Zeke begins the arduous task of taking down Vidi. We're seeing boot strats on the eyeballs. Nice with that cane of burner protection. A little laggy at times, but definitely an efficient strategy considering all the loadout. And you're seeing right there, proof right before your eyes and Vidi's many eyes, the Master Sword making a huge difference with those boot strats. I mean, look how quick, all those eyes are down. Now just a good amount of bow shots. And being armed a little more to the teeth, so to say, Zeke was able to take down Vidi while we still see Professor Render just getting the first puff down. There's the second one going. So that Master Sword is going to make up time. That was a good cold stare fight, but a long cold stare fight. And it was just the compass hiding out on Vidi. I wasn't sure if we saw everything. So no real benefit for Zeke other than the fact that he's just done with that dungeon. And at an hour and 16 minutes, we see Zeke grab his 5th crystal. And just a little after that, about half a minute later, we see Professor Render grabbing his 5th crystal. Yeah, I think kind of the overview, and chat, feel free to weigh in on this with opinion, but I've enjoyed Render's routing a little more efficient with how he's navigated the world and choices. But Zeke's execution, especially in boss fights, has just been a leg up. Well, my armed to the teeth comment for Blue Cane was not in itself, but the Master Sword. Being able to boot stash with the Master Sword was my reference there. Now, here's an interesting choice. We've got Zeke heading to Swamp and Professor Renderer heading to Swamp. There was nothing of note in Ice Palace. So if a Fire Rod is down here in Swamp, that's just going to make Ice Palace even more efficient on Zeke's side. Oh, and Professor Renderer making sure that I eat my words at least once in this round. Not going to Swamp. Looks like a Cave 45 check first. No doubt he'll be heading to Swamp shortly, but we're actually going to see Zeke break the ice, so to say, with our first Swamp appearance. And you hate to see it hanging out there in the open, the single arrow in Cave 45. Staying single today. We're just going to leave it right there. And did I see Zeke skip the first chest? Yeah, Zeke didn't bomb the wall and check that first chest. He may know something that I don't know about. Yeah, he is in go mode. I feel like Fire Rod definitely helps with a pickup along the way, especially navigating through some of the GT stuff. I am nowhere near good enough at this game to know if how easy it is to navigate some of those upper gauntlet rooms without Fire Rod. Also, depending on the key placement, there's that right side GT where you technically need Fire Rod for, but I know there's some ways around it. So I'm just a little surprised. That's all. I thought maybe I'd see Zeke go ahead and try to find that Fire Rod, especially with Ice being the outstanding dungeon. Fire Rod makes a big difference on Cold Stare. But that's why Zeke is running and I'm not, because Zeke certainly knows what he's doing. So we're getting a Diet Swamp on Zeke's side. We're not going to see left side at all, or any of the other chests in that matter. Render probably going to be showing us a little more, although Renderer may feel the go mode sensation too. Yeah, I know the upstairs is navigatable. It's that side chest in the Gibdo room where you can't actually reach the torch at all. But I'm sure they know a way around it. They might be banking on Fire Rod just popping up in GT too. You never know. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times today. You see right there, Master Sword with Hookshot is a much more efficient use to get through this Argus fight. And Render is going to have to do that on Fighter Sword. That is a lot of slashes to take down those puffs on Fighter Sword. Clean Argus fight. And at 1 hour and 20 minutes, we are seeing our 6th crystal pickup for Zeke. So that means hightailing it over to Ice Palace to pick up the 7th and final crystal. Yeah, Sword in left side swamp would definitely help Professor Render with execution moving forward. Don't forget, even though we saw Professor Render go through Misery Mire, he still has to go back and finish that Vidi fight. Took a very unfortunate death there. And Zeke armed with those flippers. Looks like we're going to also see a waterfall check on this side. It's 2 items. It's a quick check, relatively speaking. So I can definitely support this. You're hoping the Fire Rod turns up. But I will say, kind of to the comment that Chat and I were just having, it's interesting that we picked these 2 checks, but we didn't check the Compass chest or some of the other, early chests in Swamp. And as we saw already on Renderer's side, Waterfall Chest is nothing but a useless payout today. We've got 10 bombs. Come on, left side swamp. What are we going to see? Is it the sword? Oh, no, it's just a big waste of time. That is one thing Renderer did not need, was to lose a little more time there. So Diet Swamp was the play. We also didn't see what was in the big chest of Swamp, though. So Chat hoping for a sword in Swamp Palace. You might still get your wish. And with that, we've got the flute over to Ice Palace. This is Zeke diving in for his 7th crystal of the match. And I didn't make a comment when Zeke was down here, so I apologize, but I absolutely love the diver down strat. It is just awesome to see them always making new optimizations to the game. And we did see Zeke show off some swag with this earlier, as we see Professor Render setting it up on his side. Going for the bomb setup here, and gets it. There we go. After a little bit of trouble with the cane block, Render able to land that clip with the bomb. And making good use of the hook shot. Still going to be the most damage output in that room for Zeke. Not interested in the fairy, though. There's still a couple of places that Fire Rod can be hiding. It obviously can be up in GT. If we were to come across a book, it could certainly be on one of the pedestals. But I'm pretty sure we're seeing Zeke in a mentality he has no interest in seeking out that Fire Rod. He's just going to commit to the play and hope that the GT Big Key is not Fire Rod logically required. Yeah, and I thought we might see this on Renderer's side. Going with the hook and then menuing to hammer strat to deal tempered damage. It's going to definitely improve the damage output here for Zeke on this. I'm sorry, for Renderer on this fight. Yeah, and so far today's race kind of boils down to a tale of two playstyles. We had Render with some incredibly efficient early game routing, a nice execution, had a consistently had a couple minute lead, but Zeke making the choice to prioritize some of those easily missed checks in the Dark World yielded him a nice damage boost with a sword pickup, and he's been able to make great efficient use of that, having just all around better boss fights today. So you can see now that Zeke is, kind of established a very commanding lead at that point, especially since Renderer doesn't have knowledge of a sword. It's not just that he can't. It's not just that the boss fights are weaker, but he actually can't finish the game without another sword pickup. So we're going to be on the lookout for where that third sword might be hiding. And despite being on the fighter sword, Professor Renderer makes good work of Argus to pick up his 6th crystal of the match. He's going to be heading over to Meyer to grab this crystal. And I think it's important to note, all things considered, with the knowledge and the loadouts that both players have had, they've been doing a very nice job. I'm wondering if Render is going to be looking up in Hookshot Cave for another sword before heading to Meyer. Definitively does not have Turtle Rock access past the first chest or two without Fire Rod. Well, I guess they could skip the Fire Rod stuff, but it seems like an odd play to go looking just for a sword. Yeah, Fire Rod can't be on Ped. Definitely need that to finish off not only the Trinex fight, but also to get access to the fight of Skull Woods. So there is no way we're grabbing enough pendants, without that Fire Rod. And Zeke, an hour and 27 minutes in, picks up the 7th crystal, and I imagine that he'll be heading over to GT immediately. And we do see Professor Renner making the TR dip. I mean, maybe the Hookshot Cave checks, but this, without Fire Rod, the possibility of how deep this can go, this is an interesting choice. Well, at that, I would like to extend to chat a little bit of a guessing game that we play. Please, there is anywhere between 1 to 22 that this chest can show up, this big key can show up. As we go ahead as make the climb, we're going to close the guesses once chat. I'm all tongue-tied. We're going to close the guesses once Zeke makes his way into TR. I see lots of numbers go up. 1 to 22. Where is that big key going to be hiding? Oh, GT. I'm so sorry. I said TR. Render with the TR plays got me all confused. Hey, it's a 2-letter name. They're right next to each other. It's an honest and humbling mistake, chat. I appreciate your flexibility with me. Just a fetch quest in Hookshot Cave. Ooh, and this is an interesting choice. Render is going to go ahead and check that basement coffee break chest here using the lamp. Unfortunately, I feel like unless there's a big sword or Fire Rod pull, he's just going a little further and further off the beaten path here. Yeah, so Zeke's given us a little more time to get those guesses in chat. Remember, anywhere from 1 to 22 And we're going to stop the guessing once Zeke enters GT. The only other known sword so far was sitting up on Graveyard Ledge. So at an hour and 30 minutes, we're getting the entrance to GT along with a parallel dimension check of the basement. It's nothing. It's just 20 bucks. And Zeke immediately heading right side. Yes, Sword 3 is missing in action right now. And there's the Fire Rod. Just check number 2 of Ganon's Tower. Well, unfortunately, with the Fire Rod pull, that expands the area of where another sword could be sitting. So Zeke is fully in go mode. No matter where that key shows up, Zeke has access to it. It was a good call on his part, definitely, to just kind of assume for the best. And there's the big key. I believe that was pull number 4. So if you guessed 4 in the chat, congratulations. You are some kind of wizard. I appreciate everybody who put a number up in there. And 4 is a number that my sister always guesses. So not watching today, but you would have been right. And with the big key being where it was, it didn't even matter about the Fire Rod. So it was a whole lot of panic for nothing on my end. Yeah, and now we're seeing Professor Render kind of going ahead through with a lot of these extra obscure overworld checks that Zeke prioritized earlier. And while there's not a large payout for the majority of it, that Master Sword pickup is on Graveyard Ledge. And he was in the area, didn't stick around though. Come on, Render, just head back. You were so close. Now, I will say, with a quick pickup of a sword and a head down to Vitreous, this certainly isn't over, but every check that Renderer does that is not that graveyard chest, graveyard ledge is going to, make it kind of more and more out of reach. And the reason that I say that is, despite the great execution we've seen, especially in boss fights on Zeke's side, this is hard mode. Silverless Ganon. Anything can still happen. And Zeke happy to have the Fire Rod for this gauntlet. It's a little tougher without those silvers and with such a weak sword. Yeah, as our tracker, Professor Pixie, is pointing out, that's a very good possibility. The other sword could just be locked behind the Fire Rod. The other sword could be on Ped. The other sword could be a reward for Trinex. It could be, there's a couple of Fire Rod chests in TR. It could be on Mothula. There's quite a few places that Fire Rod opens up as far as a logical pull. And Zeke on Lammo 2, armed with a Fire Rod this time. Ooh, and just misses that. Would have been a pretty good cycle. but nonetheless takes him down on the next one with a couple of Master Sword slashes. That is Lammo 2 down for Zeke. And with every room that Zeke finishes, Professor Render is still not where he needs to be to pick up that second sword. It's the only other sword that we know about right now. Hard required to finish the seed. A little bit of a tumble there overshoots the landing on Zeke's side. No problem, though. Just right back at it. Take two. And another gorgeous Wizrobe room on Zeke's side. Indeed, Professor Pixie, some of the most satisfying rooms in the game. Those Samaria Wizrobe stuff. All right. Get some hype in chat. Professor Render is in the right spot. Will he fully commit? It looks like it. This looks like the play. And indeed, we are going to see Professor Render pull that Master Sword. Unfortunately, a little on the late side. He still has to go over to finish Vitreous. And there's the book. Well, that just opens two more places to where to where that third sword can be hiding. At an hour 36 minutes, Professor Render pulls the sword that he was hoping to find. And dashing straight over to Meyer to have a little toe-to-toe rematch with Vitreous. Speaking of rematches, we see Moldorm having another shot at Zeke here. And with some good hammer, use of the hammer's wonky hitbox, but Zeke has no problem with that. A gorgeous fight against Moldorm too. Gonna hook shot across this gap and get started on wrapping up this seed. All right, chat, here is the Aga 2 fight. A nice double there. And there's the first blue energy ball. Oh, second. And I believe we had a 2-1-0. 2-1? Was that what that was? Yeah. Thank you, Professor Pixie. Keeping me honest there. A 2-1-0-2-1. And as Render gets inches closer to Vitreous's rematch, we do see Zeke dropping down to get started on his Ganon fight. Now, this is a Masters Silverless Ganon fight, so it's going to be a tough one. Green male. But if anybody can do it, Zeke's got this down. Spin to win. Yes, I like it, chat. Spin to win. And we begin our Vitreous rematch over here with that Master Sword, making use of the same strats we saw Zeke use. The Boots Master Sword dash. Pretty efficient here, with all things considered. Yeah, and it's just really just so obvious when you're looking at it how much big of a difference the Master Sword is making in this boss fight here with these eyes. And Zeke on phase 2 of Ganon here. Some slick dodging of fire bats. Really nice phase 2 for Zeke. And while Zeke is on this phase 2 of Ganon, we have the 7th crystal pick up on Renderer's side at 1 hour and 40 minutes and 30 seconds. So no doubt we'll see Renderer make the way up to GT. Double time. Yeah, Zeke, this is such a tough fight on Master Sword. Oh, get that blue goo, Zeke. There we go. I feel like a Master Sword Silverless Ganon is like, it's like a dramatic chess match. It's move for move. It's, very careful plotting as you're going through, choosing when to, lunge in for the attack. And as difficult as this fight is, especially on green mail, Zeke putting on a little bit of a clinic, showing us how it's done here today as we get out of phase 2. Very nice. Oh my gosh. I almost couldn't breathe after that. Zeke was standing just on the tile right before it fell out from under him, and he was able to be sure that he didn't drop down there. Be careful, Zeke. Oh, and so we're not finding the silvers today because they were hiding on planet Zebes, according to Ganon's information. Although, can you really trust him? Nice torch glitch. Quite a few spins ahead of us here for Zeke, but he is on making good progress. Careful near the edge. Oh, and taking a little bit of a recoil there, but just ever so slightly able to tiptoe his way back in. Professor Render, one chest away from his fire rod that he's been looking for. There it is. Oh, Zeke, please be careful. Like I said, it's that chess match. It's a little drawn out. You normally are able to deal a little more damage here. Not an easy fight with the knockback at all, Professor Pixie. But Zeke doing a good job showing us how it's done. Oh, and there it is again, that slide that he does on the recoil. Professor Render grabbing his big key, dashing around, hoping to find another sword. He won't, but gonna mirror and start the climb. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You have no idea if the sword is worth looking for in this tower. Just crossing the halfway mark here. Oh my gosh, Zeke, please be careful. You're so close to the edge. Yes, Tempered certainly makes this fight a lot quicker, and that would have been a big game changer if one of our runners was able to come across it and the other one not. But it was not the case. We have no idea where that third sword is outstanding. It can be a lot of places. It can really be anywhere at this point. We've pretty much found everything else to check things, except for a couple of fetch quest items. And down goes the pig. Zeke just has to cross the most dangerous gap in video games. And we'll be getting a GG in chat for Zeke Highwind on an awesome job completing the seed. Very nicely done. Get your GGs in chat, as he is going to be finishing here today. And we'll see if we can get Zeke in here for a quick interview. Zeke Highwind, GG's on a great run. How are you doing?
Hello. Sorry, I muted my mic, just doubly make sure my mic wasn't on.
No worries. GG's on a great run. How are you feeling after that?
Adrenaline rush is going.
Yeah, silverless Master Sword Ganon fight is never fun.
Did the professor find a tempered sword by chance?
No, so that's the big outstanding question, is we only found those two swords. And unfortunately, the Ganon's Tower Climb only gave us more options with the Fire Rod and the Book Pull.
And the mushroom.
Oh, and the mushroom.
From
yeah,
Hookshot Cave.
Yeah, so the only things we were really missing were powder and shovel. Other than that, could be anywhere.
Yeah. I could have used a cape in that fight. You saw me being careful in phase 2.
You had a very clean phase 2, though, with the loadout considered. That was a nice job.
So, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, a couple. I'd just like to talk through the seed. We're also going to be watching Render wrap up. He's still making the climb through the gauntlet.
Making the climb? Okay. That was going to be my next question. Where's the professor compared to me?
Yeah, so it's funny. Started out with Professor with a little bit of I think it was about a half-minute faster escape, and just kind of had that 2-minute lead on you the whole time while you guys were even in routing. And then the big break was after Thieves Town. Your decision to go up to some of the Skull Woods and the Graveyard checks, some of those really out-of-the-way locations, that ended up being Professor Render's undoing, as you were able to have just immensely cleaner boss fights. Yeah.
My reason for that route was twofold. One, they were going to get orphaned otherwise, and if a sword or a fire rod or anything was up there, I wasn't going to go back for it very quickly.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's exactly what we saw on Render's side. He did take a death to Vidi as well, the first time through on Fighter Sword. So it was
yeah, not a pretty fight with Fighter Sword.
No, not at all. You're I mean, not just with the Master Sword, all your boss fights were really good considering the loadout. So nice work there. But your Master Sword boss fights just gave you a huge edge.
The other reason I made that route was I recently taught myself Kern Jump, and I was hard in the mindset of leave pod for last, and so I Kern Jumped to enforce that route. Because I made that Kern Jump to Catfish.
Yeah, that was it was, you guys both approached your first entrance to the Dark World. I mean, minus the Death Mountain stuff real quick, but you went in from Link's house, whereas Professor Renderer decided to go through Village of Outcasts. So the routing was the opposite. You finished up having already done a lot of the South Dark World checks, so it totally made sense to go through.
Yeah, I want to do that route because with very little combat, I want to do Hype Cave in case it has sword or something.
Yeah,
before approaching. And I want to avoid touching ice and mire until I found the lamp to put in logic a little bit.
Yeah, that was some nasty lamp logic.
Yeah. I also definitely want to avoid the lamp, doing, because I saw the fire rod pendant dungeons, and I gambled on fire rod GT.
Yeah, that was something we talked about a little bit in chat. I was shocked to see you skip some of those little quick checks in Swamp Palace, like the compass check and things. And but chat was confident that you would feel good going into GT without a fire rod.
There are 18 other checks than the 4 fire rod blocked. I would have checked tile room before going looking for a fire rod.
Well, GT had the gift for you at the front door, though, fire rod, right when you walked in.
That actually made me panic that I was going to have to go right side for the big key.
No, it definitely... Go ahead, sorry.
You might have seen me try to go to right side for a second before realizing I don't have a key.
Yeah.
Because I went down and picked up the pot for that switch.
All was good. Yeah, I did see you set up the room, but all was good. It paid off. It's interesting to see. I wonder if Professor Renderer looks like he's going to be searching still a little bit for that third sword. He's gotten to get... He just finished off Aga, opened the Ganon Pyramid, but he's grabbing some goo. Never mind. I thought maybe...
I'm of the opinion, do not go into that fight without a potion.
Yeah, you had a great Ganon fight. I do want to ask one question. You gave me a little bit of a heart attack there. At the start of Phase 3, you actually were standing on a tile as it was disintegrating. Did you happen to see that?
I did. Don't worry. I jumped.
Yeah, I was... it's so nerve-wracking, that fight, especially with the recoil you get from having to do all those sword slashes.
Yeah.
But definitely
it did take me a minute to get into the groove with that Phase 4. But I honestly am pretty happy with my route on that one.
Yeah, no, it came together really nicely. Especially the gamble on Fire Rod really paid off for you. Well, we still have no idea where that sword is hiding out. Does chat have any more questions for Zeke as we begin to see the Renderer Ganon Master Sword Silverless fight?
Ooh, that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, Master Sword Silverless is a chess match, in my opinion. You have to be very
patient,
methodical. Yeah.
If you try to rush into it, you will eat 6 fire bats.
And not just Master Sword Silverless, but Green Mail. It's another layer of frustration here.
Mm-hmm. Taking 4 heart damage from pretty much every attack he can throw at you, and heaven help you if you hug Ganon. Or if he decides in Phase 4 to land on top of you while you're doing stuff. That is what myself and some of my friends would call the high roll driver.
Ooh, and taking a fire bat there on 1 heart.
Professor has some potions, right?
Yeah, he did a potion run, but he's not using it. Come on, Professor. I mean, he's surviving. He's on to Phase 3 here.
That was a quick Phase 2. Must got some good positions.
Professor, just use the potion.
Both runners want to just panic the commentator.
I don't even know if I can
solo comms tonight.
Oh, no, it's fine. I always enjoy having the company much more. It helps you keep things straight and and organized so that you remember who's seeing what and keep the eyes going. But I find when I solo comm, occasionally get tongue-tied. I accidentally called the GT Big Key game the TR Big Key game. So
I would hope it's not TR Big Key game. No one wants to go there.
Does he have a fairy? Okay, at least he had a fairy. So that's why he didn't drink the potion. He takes the fairy revival.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
My heart is eased a little bit. Yeah, Professor Renderer got that top right corner where you sneak in the flame circle, so he had
That's about 8 hits right there.
Yeah, a little quicker phase 2. Oh, yeah, the fairy. I'm so relieved. Yeah, hopefully he'll be wrapping up here soon and we can get you both in here maybe to talk through. Oh, there's that recoil. Yeah, to just chat through this race a little bit.
That recoil can get you on those sides.
Yeah, no, never mind a solo com run, but it is more fun with people. Chat was my real MVP again today, though. They were keeping the conversation going.
Yeah. Before Professor gets in here, I will say a big thanks to you, 329 Inline, and to Professor Pixie for tracking today.
Oh, thank you very much. And yes, a big thanks to Professor Pixie tracking for both runners here, doing a great job.
They do. I've had the pleasure of working with them on tracking. They keep up pretty quickly with the shenanigans we get to see on streams.
And Professor with a very good run of this. He's staying a little more away from the edges than you did.
Hey, you gotta live life on the edge. What's a Master Sword Silverless fight without some suspense?
I think it's suspenseful enough, don't you? And yes, I see the links in chat there. Please do, when this fight finishes up, please give a follow to Professor Render and Zeke Highwin, both putting on a great show for us today. Very entertaining race. And if you enjoyed what you see here, you'll love catching the content they provide on their channels. So please show some support, show some love, give these runners a follow, as well as our tracker, Professor Pixie, doing a great job, like we said.
And give 329 Inline a follow as well for giving you guys some fun to listen to.
It is my privilege and pleasure. Thank you. And he's down. That's it. Professor Render just has to hold off a little bit, let the bridge show up, and he will be walking his way into victory as well. Get your GGs in chat.
And a big GG for Professor Renderer.
Yes, and with that, we have our GGs. Let's see if we can get Professor Render in here for some chat as well. Get a little conversation on what you both thought of this seed and how it panned out. I see it popping up in the chat. Just give him a second to jump over. I'm sure the nerves of like we said, a green mail master sword silverless Ganon. It's a little bit of an adrenaline rush to come off of for sure. But take a deep breath, Professor. You have completed a hard-fought quest. Nicely done. I'm still a miss for where that sword was. And here we have in chat, Professor Render, GG's. Welcome.
GG, Professor.
GG. Whew. That was interesting. I'll be honest. I played pretty recklessly on the Vidi fighter sword. So I mean, I figured I played pretty recklessly there. And I kind of feel like I burned. No, that was on Cold Stare, right? I had a lot of low percent fights. At least it got me some practice with low percents, like some low percent fights.
Yeah, this game did not want us to have more than 2 swords, so
yeah. Was there any sign of another sword, or
we'll have to ask the late finish, the other contestants. I only got one, the sword off Graveyard.
Yeah, that's the one I got too. I did a little happy little jig as soon as I got my sword. Like that's why I moved around. Like I like that. It's a happy little jig. You know, I finally got my sword for once.
Yeah.
That was the big factor. We haven't seen hide or hilt of that third sword upgrade. And it really was, I think I said this a little earlier before you guys came on. It was a tale of two routing decisions. Professor Render, your choice to go Thieves Town or Village of Outcast Thieves Town and then south versus Zeke starting at Hype Cave and going back. Zeke took that route north to Graveyard Ledge and was pretty much full tilt from there. Just much more efficient boss fights throughout. Like you said, with that Fighter Sword Vidi, I mean, it was just a completely different scenario watching Zeke go through there with the Master Sword.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. Yeah, and I kind of it definitely the routing decisions there. Like it's interesting as a routing like on a routing perspective, and I had a feeling that like as soon as I got my sword, in the context of a tournament like coming up. Okay, I heard the stream going off, but the let me actually mute this really quick. Uh, in the context of a tournament, if I was in a 1v1, if I was in the group stages or in the brackets, and that happens, I would have been like, yeah, if this is over, I pretty much lost. If I could give my routing, um, and if my opponent hasn't finished by then, it's like I know I'm gonna lose straight up. Um, the I mean, the rest of prior to the sword pickup, I felt like my routing was really, really strong. Played really well up until I took the death on Vidi, but of course, uh, in general, I felt good. Like a lot of the plays I did I felt good. It's just up until I find that I was on my hunt for the sword. I was like, okay, I don't know where this is. I gotta make something work now and fast. Um,
Well,
that's all it kind of came down to, really.
Well, Professor, I will say, early game, maybe about up till about halfway, you had amassed kind of a maybe 2 to 3 minute lead, based on completion. You guys were kind of, check for check in the beginning. You did have a slightly, I think it was like a 20 or 30-second cleaner escape too, so you had kind of set yourself up with some really good routing and execution. It was impressive, and then that sword pull just changed everything. It was such an obscure check. We knew, we kinda had that heart-sinking feeling in chat that it might be a while before Render makes his way up there for some of those, kinda one-offs, and that really set the tone for the difference.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because when you're doing routing, you have to find like a perfect balance between dungeon activity like crystal dungeons, pendants, and overworld checks, right? Like how to get to it, and then when you orphan stuff off like that, like you orphan like the top like I orphaned the north part of the dark world, um, that can be a problem, but especially considering how I planned the route. Um, if I had one thing to change about it, it probably was as soon as I got out of Thieves Town, I probably would have wanted to go up to the or to Skull Woods, or start Skull Woods first and then work my way around. That way I would have gotten the sword a little bit earlier, and all I would have been looking for was the flippers. Um, and that would have been one thing I would have changed. Um, I mean, the Vidi Def it didn't feel so hot, but like, I mean, I was doing this on a fighter sword, so it does not feel good to do it in that context, especially when you have hard flags where you cannot have a hard item pool, where you cannot have a single mail at all, and you actually have to keep notes of what green 20s have appeared in the early game, and then could have been else falling behind. I think I narrowed it down to just heart pieces at the end.
Yeah,
I think I'm missing a heart container.
That too. A heart container, or heart piece. Actually, no. I took a look at it now. I have like on my menu. I have 16. So that means that there was a heart container nearby. So it wasn't ever a heart container because that's the maximum amount of heart pieces you can get is 16.
Yeah.
So
Has
I
to be
missed
a heart container we're missing.
Yeah.
And a sword.
And a sword.
And a sword, yeah.
I'm glad I
ahead,
got the practice Master Sword Silverless earlier this week in a casual race, because that came in handy today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got some practice with Master Sword Silverless myself, even if it was impromptu. Honestly, like this, if I had to like make some comments about the tournament flags, they're really good. I think the tournament, like having standard random swords, hard item pool, is honestly the this is honestly a great setup for a tournament. Like it rewards people for playing and it like rewards the skilled NMG runners, and it also is a really good way to challenge like new players or like intermediate runners, just to give them a bit more of a challenge than what we have seen in the past with the league with casual boots, open boots with SG Live and stuff like that. Like I feel like with these flags, it's a callback to what to humble times when before we were spoiled with casual boots.
I'll say on that topic, it is a good mix of rewarding execution, because it does reward good execution with the hard item pool. It rewards it with the standard opening, but it also doesn't punish making slightly more obscure routing decisions, because with a casual boots or sword of sword seed, you're rewarded for those early plays that get you a sword, and then just straight going through as fast as you can. But like today, it came down to a master sword in an obscure spot.
Mm-hmm. And in general, I know it kind of felt bad to see the sword that slide on, but as soon as I got it, I was like, yeah, okay, I just gotta drop everything, get going. If I had to make a guess as to where it could have been, like where the sword could have been, would have either been in GT, Catfish, or if I didn't count my items right, on Helmasaur.
Well, it wasn't Catfish.
Helmasaur is a map, and Catfish was a big 20. My route included a turn jump to Catfish.
Okay, so I did count my items correctly. That's good. Because I felt like as soon as I leapt, I kind of felt like, oh wait, I didn't kill Helmasaur. I may have miscounted my items. So probably could have been Pyramid Fairy for all I know, or GT.
I also had a left for Helmasaur in there. I think it was a map.
Pretty sure it is too.
So
I do see chat saying that they saw another runner full clear GT, so it was not in GT.
It has to be Pyramid Fairy then.
Turtle Rock.
Or Turtle Rock. Or Turtle Rock, yeah.
I also think that it's interesting, and I kind of want to I talked to Zeke a little bit about this. I kind of want to hear your take on it, Professor. That fire rod being ever so elusive until you go in the front door, then it's right there when you walk in. So I think the sword was maybe a little bit of a chain there. Grab fire rod, have to go back, double back, and do something fire locked. Maybe that first skull.
I can see it.
Yeah, that first Skullwoods check after the fire lock and stuff like that, or maybe a Mothula. But I do want to ask you, how did you feel going into GT, no fire rod, but also having the late sword pickup?
At that point, I was in my mind was, I have to find another sword. There has to be another sword somewhere. I see the fire rod. I'm like, okay, that kind of confirms my suspicions that there really wasn't. You weren't supposed to go into Skullwoods to begin with. Because I went into Skullwoods and trying to find a sword, didn't find a thing. All the items were in the back, fire log locked, and it's interesting because it also kind of helps me out a bit, because that also would have confirmed that Turtle Rock would have also been an option too, because was also I checked first chest Turtle Rock because I figured, well, it's close by while I'm doing Hookshot Cave, so I may as well take a look at it. So Yeah, I don't feel entirely upset about it. It's just that I just defining the sword just kind of felt bad, and just again, like I said, the route I would have if I had to change my routing, I would have went to Skullwoods first, did that, and then got my sword that way.
I do like the skipping Skullwoods play just because it was a pendant, and we didn't have a fire rod. So your
Yeah,
route makes a lot of sense.
but how I see it with it is that if I had this, of course, this is all hindsight as well. If I had went into Skullwoods, it would have been fine for me because like I could have. I mean, yeah, it's a pendant, green pendant, but I can at least route that as like a quote unquote Dark World check, like a Dark World overworld check, quote unquote. And that when I could have just went into Skull, I went to went to do the Graveyard Ledge, got the sword that way, route all the way down to Thieves Town.
Well, between the lamp hiding out where it was, that was some nasty lamp logic too, and the fire rod being such a late find, opening up sword possibilities. I would say both of you, with the information you had, made great decisions, great routing choices, efficient, just clearing and movement. And to your credit, I think it was Zeke that said this. I think the sword pool, for the tournament flags is kind of a big equalizer. It really levels out the playing field between, just kind of stumbling upon a bunch of stuff or taking the chance to get the damage upgrade by checking some obscure locations. And today definitely proved to be the payout.
Yeah. Final thoughts for me though. Again, if I had to change, it's just making that change in my routing as soon as I got into the Dark World was what could have helped me a bit here. I would not have to deal with didn't have to deal with with the low percent fights I did. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, even at the end of the day, I got low percent. I got some practice in low percent fights. So I mean, that fire sword cold stare fight was like I felt really good about that fire sword cold stare fight. Even if I had to burn like two blues, like all in all in quick succession, I felt good about it. As soon as I got it done, it was definitely one of my strong suits, my strong showings in low percent.
I got to show off some fun strategies for Master Sword boss fights, so that was fun.
Yeah, and before I go, I hope you really enjoyed my sprite, the sprite that I made, because this was the sprite that I made to for myself. If you wanted to check it out, I have it. It is in the main Discord, under sprites, under the sprites channel. Just scroll up a bit, or if you want, just DM me. If you're in that Discord, feel free to DM me. I can provide you the sprite file for it.
Well, Professor, we did give the sprite a shout out about halfway through the stream, but do you want to let us know what it's called again?
So the sprite is called Professor Ender Grizzleton. He's my namesake here. Professor Ender Grizzleton is actually the namesake of my handle, and he's a bear, and he's really cute. You should definitely give it a try. I spent like 2 weeks working on it. And the most recent version I have of it is up to date. It had fixed some of the problems that I noticed especially with the tunic colors, which happened to be white because he has a lab coat on. Then the male upgrades, which we can't see obviously, was like a light blue lab coat and a black lab coat, respectively, for blue and red.
Well, it sounds pretty sleek and swanky. I'm hoping to get to see that in some restream play soon.
Yeah, I generally like it. I mean, again, if you want to check it out, feel free to either DM me, or like in the main Discord, or it's there in the sprites channel in the main Discord.
Well, I'll offer to chat. Any last closing thoughts or questions for either of these runners as we wrap up here? And while I give them a second to collect their final thoughts here, I just want to say once again, GG's to both of you. An awesome display of just talent and execution, and it was tons of fun to watch. And GG's, Zeke, on the big win.
In case chat was, I don't know if you covered how it went for the overall daily, but I took first here. I took third in the race time. So
Yeah, and I
we had
was
7
second,
excellent runners in there.
fifth. Yeah, Scruff taking the first place was caught me by surprise. It definitely was like there was a pretty big pool of really good runners there.
Yeah.
Took second on reaching fifth overall. So I'm not bad at, I don't have a, it wasn't a bad result. I did a lot. I showed a lot of resilience and diligence in the face of like adversity with all these low percent fights, but I got the job done, and I feel proud of it.
Yeah, I think we both put on showings that we can be pleased of for that.
Oh, for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
just a review of that race time clock in. We have in first place at 1 hour and 31 minutes 23 seconds, Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna. Second place today was Moogle Charm at 1 hour 37 minutes 59 seconds. And taking third was our on-stream Get Some Hype for him, Zeke Highwind at 1 hour 45:34. Nobly was fourth at 1 hour and 51:59. And then so far, the fifth place, which is the most recent finish here, Professor Render on stream, Get Some Hype because it was awesome, 1 hour 57 minutes and 30 seconds. So we still have some other races in progress to wrap up for the day. But you both did an awesome job. It was so much fun to watch. Thank you for putting on a great show today.
Thank you
for giving us a chance to.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks to comms, trackers, and the SG crew, all SG people behind the scenes to doing a great job putting this on for us. Other than that, though, I got some stuff to do. I got a couple assignments to do, and with that, I'll be taking my leave. GG's Zeke, and GG's to everyone else. Take it easy.
GG, Professor. And
GG.
Again, for the last time for me, shout outs to Speed Gaming, to 329th Inline, our commentator, and to Professor Pixie, our tracker for today. So without them, Professor and I wouldn't have been able to put on a show for you.
And it was a great show. Tons of fun to watch. Thank you, GGs, to both our on-stream runners, and GGs to everybody involved in this race today. I am 329th in line. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope that you enjoyed today's daily race. Make sure that you jump on the ALTTPR Randomizer Discord. Get a look at the schedule that we have for those daily races. If you enjoyed the action today, it's definitely not stuff that you want to miss. There are always some good races to check out, as well as giving a follow to both of our on-stream runners. They're providing content all throughout the weeks, and it's stuff that you don't want to miss. And thank you one last time to our awesome tracker, Professor Pixie, for helping keep everything organized as we ran this race today. I am 329th in line. Hope you enjoyed yourself. We'll catch you next stream. Take care, everyone.